I will talk about the following troubleshooting topics: DHCP network settings, double port numbers, low buffers, RTP statistics in the status with optimization via decoding speed correction. Let me share my screen now and start with number 1, the DHCP network settings. One of the most asked topics for the streaming client are questions to DHCP and the network settings. Per default, the automatic IP assignment modes like DHCP are enabled. The discovered IP address is usually announced directly after reboot over connected speakers and headphones. You can also use the Barix discovery tool to find the Barix devices in the local network. Here we have the Barix discovery tool. By clicking on the Get button, it will find all the Barix devices in the local network. It will even find the Barix devices when they have no IP address or if they have completely wrong IP settings. You can even change the IP address with this tool. By double-clicking here in the IP address field, then you change the IP address and you can click on Set. If a device is not found with this Barix discovery tool, then check that the device is really connected to the same LAN or VLAN as the PC, or check that the network connection to the network switch is okay. The Barix discovery tool you can download from the Barix homepage under Help Support, Downloads, and here search for Discovery. If you will find the IP address assigned from the DHCP server, then click on Status, and here in the status report you find the current active IP settings. If the device should communicate over Internet, then make sure a proper default gateway is assigned or set. If you are using in the configuration DNS names like www.barix.com or the Barix radio, or you're using the URL for the Barrymon service, then make sure a proper DNS server is set. To set static IP settings, go to Configuration, Advanced Settings, and there in the Network section you can make the settings. But here you can even optimize the automatic discovery. For example, you have an Exstreamer located far away in the mountains, close to the antenna, and there the power network is not stable. Sometimes you have power outages. At such power outage, the local router and the Exstreamer will reboot. But here the Exstreamer reboots much faster, and in the first 5 seconds during reboot it will request the IP address from the DHCP server, but this is not up, so it will not get the IP address and will change to the next discovery mode. And in this case the Exstreamer would be not reachable anymore remotely. To prevent that, you can disable the other discovery modes. Let's have a look in the streaming client technical documentation. This you can even find on the Barix homepage and download from there. On page 10 it is explained. Here you see the 4 modes, and there you see even how to disable them. And if you will enable only DHCP and disable all the other modes, then count together 8, 4 and 1 is 13 and set this as IP address. As a result, the Exstreamer will wait until it has received a proper DHCP address from the DHCP server before it continues with normal operation. That would look like this one. Here you set a 13 and now only DHCP would be enabled. Another mistake you could make is using double port numbers. means using the same local port number twice. How could this look into configuration? Here in the streaming settings, we have on the first URL the local RTP listen port on port number 4444. So don't use the same local socket here and don't use it, for example, here. If you here use the port number 4444, then this would a double port number, and that would result in unpredictable behavior, and you never know how the device would behave. You should avoid that. You should use only unique port numbers, then the Exstreamer will even work properly. The streaming client has two different audio buffers. There is the audio buffer size for HTTP streams only, and there is the RTP delay for RTP and BRTP streams. The optimal or lowest setting here on the RTP delay depends from the used audio codec and the used audio bandwidth. For example, the InStreamer's highest possible audio bandwidth is with PCM 48 kHz in stereo. There you could work with a setting of 80 milliseconds here. When using another uncompressed audio codec with a low audio bandwidth, for example PCM or G.711 and 8 kHz, then you could here work with 200 milliseconds. When using a compressed codec like MP3, then with high audio bandwidth, that means 192 kilobit or higher, then you should work here at least with 300 milliseconds. The default is 600 milliseconds. If you use the InStreamer's lowest audio bandwidth with quality 0, then you should use here at least 800 milliseconds. Note, a too low RTP delay will result in a bad audio quality. Now I will talk about the RTP statistics, which you can get from the SNMP data or here in the status report. With the RTP statistics, you can measure or monitor the stream quality of RTP streams or BRTP streams, not HTTP streams. So you can find the RTP statistics here in these 3 lines. The first is the RTP frame loss counter. That counts lost frames from the RTP stream. Here you have to know that a normal MP3 RTP stream sends between 28 and 42 packets per second. A G.711 stream usually sends 50 packets per second. And a PCM stereo stream can send up to 120 packets per second. Each of these packets contains a sequence number. And from this sequence number, the streaming client can detect lost packets. And for each detected lost packet, it will increase the sequence number by 1. But how could you lose data in the network? In a local LAN environment, that's a reliable connection, you will not lose data. There, after a day, the frame loss counter will be still 0 or perhaps 1. But if you are streaming over Wi-Fi networks or over the internet, these are networks which are much more unreliable, and there you could indeed lose data. And here this RTP frame counter, RTP frame loss counter is very reliable. You can really trust on them. And it shows you exact results. So when you get here a bigger amount of lost frames, then you should do action. For example, when you get a bigger lost counter on Wi-Fi networks, then you should try to increase the link quality. You could adjust the antennas to a different direction, or can relocate them, or maybe use stronger antennas. When you're streaming over internet, then make sure you have enough network bandwidth on the routers. On the InStreamer side, but even on the Exstreamer side. Or you can even contact your ISP, showing him the results and discuss with him what he can improve. The next is the RTP frame drop counter. This is showing when the Exstreamer is slower than the Instreamer, when it encodes too fast, or the Exstreamer decodes too slow. Then the internal buffer gets something like an overrun, and when it sees it has reached the upper threshold, then it will drop a packet to stay in sync with the Instreamer. The exact opposite is the frame dub counter. When the Exstreamer runs faster and the buffer is reducing and reaches the lower threshold, then it will duplicate the packet to stay in sync with the Instreamer. But why this could happen? Why it could run faster or slower? Here it could have two reasons. The first is the temperature. Every electronic component reacts on temperature. When the Instreamer is running on 20 degrees and the Exstreamer is running on 40 degrees, for example, then there is a big difference, and then the electronic could run with a different speed, and that could have a little result and effect of these counters. The same for aging. When the Exstreamer is brand new and the Instreamer is 10 years old, even that could have very little effects on these counters. So, but what can you do when you see you have a permanent growing drop counter or dub counter? Here we have a function in the settings, in the configuration, advanced settings, and then under audio and playback you have the decoding speed correction. With this function you could make the codec chip of the Exstreamer faster or slower. Usually you use here values from 100 to 700, plus for faster or minus for slower. The maximum speed of the codec is 48 kHz. If you have a 48 kHz stream, then you cannot make it faster because it has already reached the maximum. Then you can make it only slower, but with a 44.1 kHz stream you can make it, for example, faster or slower. As I said, the maximum is 48 kHz, but we are using not a normal value, we are using an extreme value because we will see fast results. Don't use that, don't test with that, or test you can, but you should not use this in production. That's an extreme value that we get fast results. Now the Exstreamer works much slower than the Instreamer and should cause a lot of dropped packets. The drop packet counter should increase fast. So we go back to the status report. So now we see it has rebooted, and when we click again on the status report we will see that with each refresh here on the page the counter is increasing. So 10, 17, 22. Our Barix service is perfect to monitor that over a longer period. And when you see that it's really increasing over a longer period, then you should adjust the settings here. Note, this decoding speed correction will work even for HTTP stream. That works for all codecs, even for HTTP streams in AAC Plus or OCC4bis, or RTP streams in PCM, it will work. These counters here are resetted when the connection is resetted or when it changes to a new URL. So that means when we increase now, or when we check now the status again, we have here a very high value, and when we interrupt now the Instreamer stream, let's do that, then it will reset the counters. So here we have the Instreamer, and I stop now the RTP stream, So now I start that again. And when I check now the status again, we will see it has increased the reconnect counter, but reset it here the RTP statistics. But the stream is still too fast. For that reason, the drop counter is still increasing. Was this video useful? Please leave a comment below. If you have further questions, then please feel free to send me an email to support@barix.com. Thanks for watching.